Welcome back. So we still don't know what's going on with Keandre Miller. I'm doing a news video now because I've been watching hockey since 4 o'clock. It's now almost 9 o'clock my time, so I'm going to apologize to people on the East Coast for when this post. But hey, you're staying up anyways for the recap. Here's a news video until the recap goes live. I'm guessing there might be some fan bases that don't feel like staying up late for the recap. They might not be very happy, especially if you've lost your 10th game in overtime. So, a trade was made today, and it's tough for me not to wear a Canucks jersey. So, Riley Stillman goes to Buffalo. In exchange, the Canucks get prospect Josh Bloom. He was drafted 95th overall in 2021. He's seen as a project, but honestly, the scouting report on him's pretty good. He's a winger. Solid. He's thrived since being traded to North Bay this year. He has speed. He's seen as a two-way forward and a penalty killer. And the Canucks could use a penalty killer. And here's the thing. Stillman's gone. And so there were a lot of Canuck fans posting about how he was the tank commander and who's going to be in charge of the tank now. And results from tonight would tell you the tank commander's gone. But it's and Wolanin. Why wasn't Wolanin up all year? I really want an explanation. But at any rate, Riley Stillman being traded and the fact the Canucks get anything back here, I think is a win. Stillman's season in Vancouver has been kind of a disaster. I hope things turn around for him in Buffalo. And I mean that. I hope he does well in Buffalo, but the fact that Vancouver gets anything for him and they don't have to retain any money is nothing short of miraculous, I think, but that's me. Kyle Dubas is saying the Leafs are still going to be busy at the deadline. That doesn't necessarily mean any more big additions, of course, but saying that they're going to be busy, it might add fuel to the fire that maybe Kerfoot could be on his way to Vancouver, right? The Canucks have definitely become a team that is messing around with the lineup to see what may or may not work. And right now, the results have actually been okay. Since they started trying to tank, the results have actually been fine. Honestly, it's been kind of weird to watch. So the Leafs being busy, we'll see what they do and who they pick up and what happens. Maybe Shan ends up going there. That's just as one example. So Darren Dreger's reporting that the Wings are listening on offers for Bertuzzi. Now, I don't know if the results tonight and tomorrow could affect whether or not Detroit sees themselves as being in a position to sell Bertuzzi. He's had a rough year. And for Detroit, their ask is a first-round pick plus. So they're starting with a first-round pick plus, meaning probably a prospect, maybe a roster player. But at any rate, Bertuzzi, the ask is kind of high. I don't know if there's a team that's going to meet that ask for a player who's a UFA this summer, but look what Nashville got for Jeannot. If a team can find the cap space, it's possible that Bertuzzi would be a target. And for Detroit, if they just traded Bertuzzi and if they keep everybody else and keep everything together, I don't think that submarines their chances at the postseason. Things in the East change quickly. They seem to change every night as to which team looks like they're going to make it into the postseason. So, we'll see what Detroit does with Bertuzzi. Cam Talbot may end up being on the move. Bruce Garriock before the game tonight saying that it's possible tonight's game would be his last start at home just because the Senators haven't had real talks yet with Talbot about an extension, and he's a UFA this summer. Now, on the other hand, if Ottawa stays in the hunt, it's unlikely that they're going to trade Talbot. So if they end up winning against Detroit and if they end up getting closer to that playoff spot, the idea of trading Talbot probably becomes a lot less attractive. As Garriock said, if you trade Talbot and you're trying to make the playoffs, then you have to go out and get a goalie. And so it becomes a little bit more difficult. So then it becomes a question of what would teams be offering in exchange for Talbot. So we'll see. But for Ottawa, I think it's going to be an interesting 4 days we're going to see here as to what they do, if anything. They may stand pat. Speaking of standing pat, the reason I'm wearing a Canes jersey, the reason there's a Canes logo there with a question mark is, if you're a Canes fan wondering what's going on and why they haven't made a move yet, I'm right there with you. I'm kind of surprised. I'm surprised because this is a team that needs a little more oomph. They need a little more punch. Pacioretty was supposed to be that. Of course, the injury to his Achilles, and then he comes back, and then he injures his Achilles again. So his season is done. They need a sniper. They need a goal scorer. They need somebody who's going to be able to do that because you don't want to run into the same problem you did in last year's playoffs where they just couldn't score. And it was just that's what sunk them in the playoffs and caused them to end up being out. So I'm kind of surprised that a move hasn't made yet considering some of the bigger moves that have been made. We know that the Kane trade is on the way, likely Wednesday, but we'll see. Hasn't been made yet. But I'm very surprised that the Canes haven't made a move yet. And if they don't make a move, they'll still probably finish first in that division, although New Jersey may have something to say about it, especially with the addition of Timo Meier. But in the playoffs, what do we expect from them if they don't add somebody who can get that puck in the net? They have a lot of very good forwards. They have good speed. They're very good in transition. But do they have enough to end up getting over the top and winning the Stanley Cup? I think they'll be in the mix, but I just don't know. We'll see. Barry Trotz. So Trotz, of course, and again, I was going to do the video today on David Poile, but for me to do the video on David Poile, keep in mind, he's had a very long tenure with Nashville. I don't want to just quickly throw together a board and go, here you go, here's Poile's time, and ta-da, there you go, and make it like a 10-minute video and done. I want it to be a little more in-depth and a little more discussion of the things Poile's done and all that. So Trotz is apparently evaluating John Hynes. He was asked about his opinion of the coach. He thinks John Hynes is a good coach. What else is he going to say? Just throwing that out there. It's not like he's going to say, oh, he's a lousy coach. Can't wait to fire him at the end of the season. But apparently Trotz decided he was done coaching. He was offered a few different jobs, and he decided, no, I'm done. Went to David Poile, knowing Poile was toying with the idea of stepping down, and said, I'd kind of like to be a GM. And Poile thought that was a great idea, and so they're working together on making this a smooth transition. So what he's talking about, too, is that he's evaluating the job being done by John Hynes between now and the end of the season. So Hynes is kind of auditioning for his own job, which is not that strange when it comes to having a brand new boss. And he says he's looking forward to resetting the team, and he wants to have a lot of rookies in Milwaukee next season. So it sounds like he wants Nashville to get younger. And saying resetting, we can view that as a retool or a rebuild. I don't know that that's necessarily what that means. Resetting could mean after this season, you move out what you consider to be dead weight, for lack of a better term, and then you bring in new faces and new players. So maybe you trade guys out, you use the free agent market, you pick guys up. It resetting could mean a number of things for Trotz. So he wants to get more young guys into the AHL system. And I'm fine with that. I think that's a good idea. I think for Nashville, they've been slowly trending in the wrong direction. Right now, they're sitting below the playoff line, and this might be a good time to try to, fire things back up and try to get them going in the right direction again. It's interesting because since the season that they won the President's Trophy, they have been slowly descending the standings, and like I said, now they're sitting below the playoff line. And then with Colorado, the Avs playing, I think, the best hockey they have all season. Their general manager admitting today, Landeskog could end up missing the rest of the season. They don't have a timeline on him, and there is some concern that maybe Landeskog won't return this season. Now, if they're leaning towards him not returning the season or not returning until they get into the playoffs, that could change the game plan at the deadline. It could mean that they could be a little more aggressive at the deadline, because that cap hit, they don't have to worry about coming back before the playoffs, right? So we'll see what happens with Landeskog, but yeah, that would be rough missing the rest of the season for him. They miss him, but at the same time, they clearly are very focused right now. I think Colorado's playing some of the best hockey in the league, and we'll be talking about that in the recap tonight. And yeah, so we'll see if Landeskog comes back. But if he doesn't come back, does that hurt their chances of winning another Stanley Cup? I think it probably does. But that being said, we've seen surprises in the playoffs before. Stamkos plays a grand total of 2 minutes? The first Stanley Cup that Tampa Bay got in 2020, and they still won it. So we'll see what happens with Landeskog and whether or not he comes back. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.